Hi, welcome back to Munchkin Madness. I would like to show you a new build that I've come up with. It's called Mage Tank, and you'll see why in a minute. It incorporates a single level of fighter, but 19 levels of sorcerer to really get the most out of our mage side of this build. A Surprisingly, a lot of our tanking abilities actually come from sorcerer. So we'll check that out here in a minute. It does use 2 bits of unearthed arcana. I'll link those in the description. It uses light, dark, and underdark, which was one of the first unearthed arcanas released, and it uses the new UA or unearthed arcana sorcerer. Now, what it uses, it only uses a single thing from light, dark, and underdark, and it uses the new fighting style, tunnel fighter, which lets us we'll be taking Tunnel Fighter as our first level fighter style, and it lets us as a bonus action. So the bonus action will be taking basically every turn unless there's some other reason we shouldn't. That we enter a defensive stance until the start of our next turn, and it lets us make opportunity attacks without using our reaction. Now, there's more to it than that. You can use your reaction to make a melee attack against a creature that moves more than 5 feet while within your reach. That might be really great for pike builds and other things like that, but for our purposes now, we're not really going to use that. We're not going to need that, and I'll show you why our reaction is more valuable than to use it on a melee attack. We're not even going to really be using melee attacks in this build. As you see, our dexterity is pretty low. We have the potential to hit with a +8, but we'll be doing opportunity attacks using the Warcaster feat with our +11 spell attack bonus instead. So let's introduce ourselves to the Sorcerer Origin that really makes this possible. So this is called the Metal or Stone Sorcerer. That gives us metal magic, right? It gives us proficiencies with a lot of things, but again, since we're taking a single level of fighter, that doesn't add up to anything more than we already had. However, it does give us new spells like Compel Duel that are going to be extremely useful. Magic Weapon, which we're not going to be really using here, but I'm sure there's other builds that could incorporate a lot of great things here. Compel Duel is really what we want from those spells, but our first level feature is where we start getting all the goodies. So we have an AC of 13 plus our con modifier, right? So that puts our AC at 20 because it says that we can wear a shield while we're getting that. So that effectively takes dex out of our AC calculation altogether, which is what we're looking for, because we cannot afford with this build to have more than Constitution and Charisma as our main stats. We can't do a 3-stat build. It's just not going to work. Your hit point maximum increases by 1, and again by 1 every time you gain a level in this class. If the AC calculation wasn't good enough for our first level, if the proficiencies weren't good enough, if the new spells weren't good enough, we also get extra hit points. That's going to be a total of 19 extra hit points. So if we look at our hit points over here, we got 15 from 10 from fighter plus 5 from our con mod, right? We have 171. We get 9 each level, 4 from sorcerer, 5 from our con mod each level in sorcerer, plus the 19 we just talked about from Stone Origin, to a total of 205. That's crazy awesome for a sorcerer, 19th level sorcerer. It's going to be so much, and it's really going to make us tanky. If that wasn't enough, we also have a +11 Constitution, because we do have Constitution saving throws from fighter. +11 Constitution saving throw, which is going to be perfect for maintaining concentration on all the spells that we want to use. So we're going to take a look at some of the features that we get from this Stone Sorcerer. Next, we get an Aegis, right? As a bonus action, we can grant an Aegis or a shield to an allied creature within 60 feet of us. It reduces any bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage by 2, plus your sorcerer level divided by 4. So That's sorcerer level divided by 4 first, rounding normally, so we get 5 if we're max level of 20. Plus 2 is 7. Up to 7 damage reduced anytime that ally takes bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. At 18th level, so 19th level for us, we're going to be able to choose up to 3 creatures to gain this benefit. That's absolutely amazing to be able to reduce the damage taken by your allies up to 3 allies by 7 on each bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. But if that wasn't enough, right? And it does not say anything about magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage not getting this reduced. It does get this reduced, right? This lasts for a minute. That's long enough for most fights. And if it's not, it's just a bonus action to renew it. In addition, when they get attacked with a melee attack, we can use that reaction we've been saving and not using in Tunnel Fighter and not using reactions for opportunity attacks because they're free. We can teleport up to, we can teleport 5 feet away from the attacker and deal a melee weapon attack. Our hope with this is that Sentinel, which is one of the feats we're taking, will proc by us hitting them, reducing that creature's speed to 0, right? But if that wasn't enough, we're also getting extra force damage, up to 3d10 extra force damage. That's going to kind of make up for the fact that, hey, we're using a whip. We're using a whip and it's 1d4 plus 2. That's not a lot of damage, but hopefully, regardless of how much damage it actually is, we're going to get an extra 3d10 for helping our ally out. We also get the ability to add half of our sorcerer level to the damage we deal with spells. Once per spell we cast, we can add half of our sorcerer level, so 10 damage to 1 target of our spell. So if we cast Fireball or Fireball in any targets, we can choose one of them and do an extra 10 damage to it, assuming we're at max level, right? That's incredibly amazing to just throw onto this tank already. We're going to be taking, with our ability score improvements, we're going to be getting, we're going to be starting as a human variant, taking Sentinel, so that when we opportunity attack enemies with our Tunnel Fighter fighting style, then we also drop their speed to 0. We're going to take Warcaster at level 4 so that we can use a spell, a cantrip, instead to opportunity attack the enemies. Then we're just going to take the other 4 ASI and run with them in Con and Charisma to get them to max. This isn't background dependent or skill dependent, so you can really swing those any way you'd like. There may be other ways to build this. If you guys think you might have a even cooler build, make sure you tell me in the comments below. One last thing, some of the spells we took, or rather some of the meta magics for our spells we took. Let's talk about those real quick. So, Careful spell is particularly the one I want to talk about. We're going to be taking a lot of crowd control spells to force enemies into situations, keep them away from our allies, use the fear spell, stuff like that. So we're going to spend 1 sorcery point when we do that and our allies are caught in the crossfire of our spell. And we can choose up to our charisma modifier of allies to automatically succeed on our saving throw against our spell. On top of that, we can double the duration of a spell on either us or our allies. Up to a maximum of 24 hours, it costs 1 sorcery point for each doubling, right? 2 sorcery points to change a spell from 1 action to 1 bonus action. We're not going to be doing this a whole lot because our bonus actions are really already accounted for. So if you were going to switch out a meta magic for another one you'd rather have, Quicken spell would be the one to do it. Lastly, we have Twin spell, which lets us, for only the single spell slot, let's say we use a 5th level spell to cast something on a single creature that isn't ourselves, we can spend a sorcery point equal to that spell level, so 5 sorcery points, to target a second creature and not take 5 spell slots to cast it. And that's still only for the one single action. That's absolutely going to be amazing for making our actions count, and potentially, hopefully even making our opportunity attacks really shine here. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you have anything to add to this build, or you notice something that I didn't take into account, or a way that this build could be made better, leave it in the comments below. Thanks.